All right, folks. Starting a bit early tonight because just dawned on me that there's still a fair bit to get through, to be honest. But so yeah, apologies to anyone who joins this late, even though you won't see it because it's not there. Now, obviously, with my system I've got here now, yeah, it's missing off a comment from someone because it was showing a comment on here, but it wasn't showing a comment on there. So yeah, it's for some reason on my laptop version of the stream, it's not showing David's comment. So Dave Jones says, "Well, this is interesting. Hello, how's it going, sir? Not too bad, thank you. Hope you're doing well." Then we've got Thomas, Window Beer Reviews. He says, "Hi, David Jones." And then, "Hi, everyone," and hi, Dave. Yeah, it's missing off comments there, so I do apologise because I will probably be going off the comments on the laptop just because it saves me not looking at the camera like that. Yeah, just had a meat and potato pie. Holland's meat and potato pie. Can't go wrong. Tell you what, it takes fucking ages for Holland's meat and potato pie to actually cool down to the temperature that you can actually eat it. Although I usually get a little bit of a dicky tummy from a Holland's meat and potato pie. Don't know why, but they're good. But I do like the mince ones. Good to have a little bit of a mince. Let's see. Will says, "What the fuck was that?" Well, you've entered the weird world of vintage cinema, Will, but hope you're doing well. Hope you're doing well too, Thomas. And then we've got James, Mr. Rovwell, who says, "Hi, Peter. How you doing, James? In your neck of the woods tomorrow, potentially. Might treat yourself to a little mooch around Manchester on the day off. Not going to be drinking much, though, because from what I've seen, most places don't open up until like a bit later on in the day, and some don't even really open up during the week. I'm sure you can correct me on that. Live chat or top chat? See, I'm just going off the actual feed from StreamYard. I'm not watching the YouTube playback. So it's sort of like missing out comments. So I do apologise if your comment does get missed out. But Rampant Lion Reviews, have you ever been bummed to room? Have you ever bummed to room? No, I can't say I have, but there's a first time for everything. And we've got Slurpy Dave. Oh, by the way, evening, James. Hope you're doing well. Slurpy Dave's Bushy Brewery says slurp. Got to have a nice slurp to you, sir. Sounds like something you'd say in like an OnlyFans stream. Not that I've watched an OnlyFans stream, of course. And then Treebor says, "Treebor here. Hi, everyone. Good evening. Good evening, all." And Traveling Brews, what you on? So, I hope you're talking about what alcoholic beverage I'm on and not something to do with up there. Because I'm clean, stone cold clean. I've just cracked open a Springwell Pils from North Brew & Co. 4.5% ABV. An unfiltered lager with a light hop character and smooth rounded flavour, crisp and refreshing. It's a really nice lager. God, I've got loads of comments coming through. Thank you. How are things anyway? I messaged you about the next German session. You did indeed, but I'm terrible with messages, so apologies, James. When are we going for a pint, lads? Whenever. I'm open to going for a few drinks now that places are open properly. And we've got Pedro, who says, "Hi, Peter." Good evening, Pedro. Hope you're doing well, sir. And then Traveling Brews says, "Both types." Well, I won't tell you what I'm on usually, but because that'll be incriminating myself. No, your boy don't mess with that stuff. And Chris M says, "Raggy's career in." Yeah, I hope I'm not. Well, mind you, why would anyone pick my stream over Raggy's? Because he's a legend, and I am well and truly not. But yeah, good evening, Chris, and good evening, Craig. Ken Beer Reviews. Cheers, brother. Cheers to you too. So, this should be the third and final part of this prolonged episode. You're definitely on crystal meth as well. Probably. I've probably been dosed. Mind you, you'd need to with my job. Movie poster wise, do you change them up in the background? No, because that's pretty much all there is. I am going to be adding more stuff to it, like putting like little bits and pieces here and there, because I've got like a nice photo of Jack Nicholson from Chinatown there, and like little stills from film. So it's going to be expanded because there's all this empty space here. I mean, I could do with having a proper sort of like backdrop. Treeball Raggy has just signed off. Okay. Will says, I have to go. Clinic tomorrow. I have the clap. It's always good your first time. Never had it though. But you're getting your jab. I had my jab on Thursday. Felt absolutely fine on Friday, but Saturday I was fucked. You haven't seen a cowboy film for ages. It's all quite on the Western front. Craig getting in there with his famous puns. And no, that was Slurpy Dave, not correct. Do you see why I struggle to read comments? Because my eyes are terrible. But yeah, this is going down well. So yeah, hopefully I'm going to keep this one a little bit shorter and not spend too much time. We'll still put the trailers and stuff in because that's part of the fun. But yeah, I really need to get these sorted so we could do a proper episode next, which is going to be my top 10 favourite films. And it's going to be live again. But I might actually edit an intro to put at the start. But we shall see. So a couple of things first. I showed these off in that sort of Labierdomania mini thing that I do. You just can't beat the classic posters. No, you certainly can't. Like they're like hand painted posters. They try and replicate that now with digital painting, and I think I whined about this last time. It just doesn't look the same. Just get someone who can paint and do a poster the old-fashioned way, especially sort of like Italian style. Speaking of which, got some Italian pickups. Now I have to piss in a tub and the tablets when I'm cleared from clap. Well, good for you, Will. Good for you. I hope that goes well. And got Raggy coming into chat saying evening Raggy. It was fantastic to catch up with you and the others last night. Really needed that because I've not really been involved in any of the chats properly for a few weeks, but it was good for the soul. And the after chat we had was really good as well. But it's good to talk. That's all I'm going to say. So, yeah, picked up a couple of things when I was in CEX last week when I went to the cinema to watch Rebecca by Alfred Hitchcock with my mate Chris. And then the following day, we went to the cinema in Skem and watched Scarface, which was good. Low quality, the Scarface that we watched, though. And there was like a buzzing sound, which we think is coming from like one of the cables connected. It was like a really bad DVD copy. But it sort of reminded me, well, not reminded me because I didn't grow up in that era, but I'd imagine that was what like a cheap 70s smutty theatre would have been like. So Dave, Punja means 5, hold back on that one till then. Sid James, Kenneth Williams, Babs Windsor just made a film about an Indian restaurant in the new Curry On film. I'm liking these puns. Keep them up. In fact, I've got to show that one. And Craig says, I was wrecked last night. I've started watching your stream that you did earlier in the day, Craig, and I'm looking forward to the rant part. But yeah, picked up a couple of things from CEX. First up, another Giallo for the collection. The Bloodstained Butterfly, which is... Who directed this? Duccio Tassari did Death Occurred Last Night and A Pistol for Ringo. I started watching this, but I made the mistake of watching it at like 10:30 as I was drifting off, so I need to watch that from the beginning. But it's good to have a nice Giallo in the collection. £5 that cost me from the CEX, which I was very happy about. And then I picked this up for £25, which I was very happy about. I'm sure you can get it brand new, roughly around the same price if you shop around. But I thought, you know what, I like these Arrow box sets. And these are 5 films that I've never seen before. So, you know, Newsreaders are shitting it in Wales as a new strain of COVID has appeared in. I love it. Do you watch any of the B horror movies? That's when it comes to horror. That's primarily what I watch. I like campy, schlocky stuff. Not the modern campy, schlocky horror stuff because it's just cheesy, badly produced, boring, like douchebag, cast sort of affair. Although there have been some really good like B movies. Like I like the Wrong Turn series. The Saw series started off as a really good one. Then it went to like a nice sort of detective sort of thing. And then, of course, they're doing that new one with Chris Rock and Samuel L. Jackson. Who'd have thought they'd have been on? Purge is so good. I watched the first one. I need to watch the rest. I like the idea of the Purge. I think there's a new Purge coming out, isn't there? But yeah, I do like the sort of like horror B movie type things. Not big on slashers though, which is weird since I really like Jello. But yeah, fundamentally, when it comes to horror films, that's the sort of stuff that I probably watch more. But yeah, got the Arrow box set of the complete Sartana. 25 quid, 5 films, 5 each. Can't go wrong with that. Yeah, there's a new one soon. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. See what they do with that, especially with Chris Rock and Samuel L. Jackson in a Saw-related film. But basically, you get Light the Fuse. I've not put these on in the correct order. Yes, they are. If you meet Sartana, pray for your death. Good evening, Adam. Hope you're doing well. Still need to watch Day Watch, by the way. I'll have to watch that before we meet up on Monday, so I can give it you back. Then I Am Sartana, Your Angel of Death. Now, these are the two that I've watched so far. Really, really enjoy these. I like the odd spaghetti western, but it's one of those genres where you don't half get some shit boring ones, but these are really good so far. Nice blend of humour, action. There's a like sort of a gadgetry James Bond type of deal to it as well. Beautifully shot. The presentations on these so far are fantastic, and the intro to this film is just fucking amazing. It really, really is. So stylish. And then the other three that I've not got around to watching yet are Sartana's Here, Trade Your Pistol for a Coffin. Love the titles of these films. They sound like taglines rather than an actual title for a film. And then Have a Good Funeral, My Friend. Sartana Will Pay. I do like this newly commissioned artwork, but I like the original poster artwork on these as well. And then Light the Fuse, Sartana is coming. So might do an episode on this. We shall see. So those are some new pickups. I've got some stuff in the collection. Don't know why I'm telling you where they are because you can't fucking see them. That I'm going to be getting rid of. Just because if I've watched a film and I don't like it, I don't care how much I've paid, I'm going to, get rid of it. Do you know what I mean? Let's see. B movies like Batman with David Warbrick, I presume. Yes, Ratman. Yeah, Ratman's a really good film. I enjoyed that. That was one of the first Shameless films that I watched. That's a dirty film. Not like dirty as in content, but just like you feel dirty when you watch it. It's just really grimy, and I like that sort of stuff. Let's see. I can't watch horror movies now. The darkness I just can't take anymore, says Raggy, and Will says from Asda. I'm not sure that's in relation to. I think these comments are completely out of sync to the comment stream that I've got on my phone version of StreamYard. Where's the consistency? Do you know what I mean? Chris has to pay off his divorce, says Adam. Raggy is just turn the lights on. I think it's an anxiety thing. With you on that one, buddy. And let's see. Adam says, I'm not a fan of horror films generally. Horror films that are so bad are good and not scary. Yeah, I like that. But every now and then you do get a genuinely creepy film. And the Abdominal Doctor Vibes is classic horror. Abdominal, isn't that to do with the body? Or it should be abominable? I don't know. But I've yet to watch that. Make out that I love films, but there's loads of classics that I've just not watched. So yeah, 30 quid for 6 films. Can't complain. And I'm going to be trading in some stuff tomorrow in CEX. If there's some Arrow stuff, I'll do it for that. But if someone's traded in Resident Evil 8, I might just put them towards that because I'm not paying full price for a game. Treeball says, I like a good musical. They're good every now and then. And The Entity was a good movie, says David Jones. The Entity, what's that one? I can't remember. So next up, we've got a bit of an Italian theme going on for these next ones. Really cheap 23rd century release of a film called Days of Hell. It's an action film. Directed by Anthony Richmond, who I think is a pseudonym for the legend that is Umberto Lenzi. Got us like 50p. I mean, look at the quality of the print in there. I can't remember much about it, but it's one of those things where you can't even sell it because it's worth fuck all. But we shall see. Then this is the German DVD release. It's like German or Austrian, I can't remember. Film art release of my favourite Poliziotteschi. One of my favourite films ever. The German title is Die Welt bin ich. Or the Italian film title is Il Cinico, l'Infame, il Violento. The Cynic, the Rapid Fist. I gushed about this when I was talking about the Blu-ray release that I had. Starring Maurizio Merli, Thomas Milian, and John Saxon. Fantastic film. Great intro on that one as well. And Franco Nicolizzi's score is awesome. Then we've got Shadows in an Empty Room. Starring Stuart Whitman, John Saxon and Martin Landau, and Gail Honeycutt. Excuse me. Another 70s crime. I think it's an American film, but I think it's got Italian money in it. But some great action and car chases in this. What's the alternative title to that? I think on the Blu-ray release you get isn't it sort of like Blazing Magnum or something like that. I showed the trailer for this on last week's stream, but yeah, this is a good film, really good, just good action. It's a great scene where he shoots a helicopter with a handgun. Then we've got classic Lucio Fulci, and I need to get a better release this, but it's fully uncut, so that's the important thing for me. Lucio Fulci's New York Ripper. This is from Another World Entertainment, who I think, where are these out of? I think it's a Danish label. And it's got a liner notes from someone who I used to know ages ago when I was proper into the film collecting. I seen Jesper Morek, who's like he's an Australian guy who lived in London in like the late 70s and 80s and then moved to Denmark. Jack, his name was. But yeah, this is a nice, nasty film. Highly recommended. It's a classic. Video nasty as well. Then we've got the director's cut of Jess Franco's 99 Women. This is the one that has the hardcore inserts, which doesn't really add anything to the film. But I think those scenes were directed by Bruno Mattei. But yeah, I haven't watched it for a while. Well, I'll say a while, good few years. But yeah, this is another World Entertainment release. So they released some great stuff. And yeah, just good, cheesy Jess Franco. And it's got some nice insertion scenes in there. Yeah, The Entity, 1982 Rules. The Musical is Scary, directed by Sidney J. Fiore and starring Barbara Hershey. Yeah, Pedro Classic, Scary as hell. I need to watch that. Then we've got Cinema Paradiso. This is the really nice Arrow Academy release where you get the 4 DVDs and Ennio Morricone's absolutely gorgeous soundtrack. This is one of those films that if you love cinema, it's a film for people who love cinema. And yeah, it's basically a story about a kid who falls in love with cinema, and he befriends the projectionist, and they have this sort of like granddad-grandson sort of relationship, which really, it hits you. Do you know what I mean? And then it like fast forward to the future, because he like gets to know a girl, falls in love with a girl, as you all do, and then they sort of fall apart, and then they meet up at the end as they're older and wiser. Beautiful, beautiful little film. I'll have to reacquaint myself with that one and upgrade to a nice Blu-ray of that. This is one I definitely need to upgrade to, because I think 88 Films did the Blu-ray release of this. This is Hitchhike, starring David Hess from Last House on the Left fame, and the legend that is Franco Nero, and Corinne Clery. Basically, David Hess is like robbed a bank or something like that, and Franco Nero and Corinne star as like a couple who sort of like, they're always arguing, they hate each other, and then he basically just sort of kidnaps them from the back seat of a car. Quite tense little number, that one. Sort of like in the after Last House on the Left, I think that really blew up for David Hess. What a nice one. Then we've got another Jess Franco film, and this is his adaptation of Marquis de Sade's Justine, which Marquis de Sade, fascinating writer, but an absolutely disgusting human being. But Salon, 128 Days of Sodom, 120 Days of Sodom, Justine, and I can't remember the other sister in the original story. Yeah, I started reading Sallow, and fucking hell, it's just some of the stuff in that book. I think Pier Paolo Pasolini, don't know how he managed to interpret that into a film and make it a watchable and non-explicit, because I'm sure there's people out there who've done like X-rated adaptations of Marquis de Sade's work, but this is good, cheap, sort of like period piece with Klaus Kinski just getting an easy paycheck by having a small appearance as the Marquis de Sade. Justine and Juliet, is it, or something like that? I can't remember. Yeah, it's all right. Nice little Anchor Bay release. Then we've got a couple, three Blue Underground releases. Great label in America, as most you probably already aware. Some more Italian goodness. Mad Dog Killer, which stars Helmut Berger and Marissa Mel, aka Beast with a Gun. This took me ages to get hold of this film for a good price when I was proper into recollecting. I mean, it's 2008 release. But now, again, 88 Films, I think, have released the Blu-ray of that, so I'll have to upgrade to that one. I need to definitely get a better version of this. Bruno Mattei's Hell of the Living Dead, probably my favourite zombie film. Just rips off every other zombie film, especially Dawn of the Dead. But it's Bruno Mattei's, one of Bruno Mattei's masterpieces, in my opinion. Lifts the score from Contamination, as well as some bits from Dawn of the Dead. It's amazing how they like legitimately are able to release this in terms of the rights. But yeah, it's good. If you ever watched the Video Nasties documentary that came out from Nucleus Films, which is good, that was an awesome release, that. Like a university lecturer pretty much summed this film up perfectly and said it's like the best bits of every zombie film. It's a best of zombie film, really, but it's cheap and schlocky, just the way I like it. And then the first Giallo that I ever watched, Torso, directed by Sergio Martino, with the beautiful Susie Kendall in there. And they're probably one of the most iconic Giallo killers. I didn't really think too much of it at the time, so I'll have to revisit that. But this is Don't know where I was going with that, but yeah, classic Jello film. No new comments as of yet. I hope this isn't too boring. I'm just going through them dead quick. Next up, we've got a classic label from the UK, Vipco, and this is the release of another Sergio Martino film, The Violent Professionals. Just a good Italian crime film. Great car chases, nice violence, and it's pretty paint by numbers, to be honest, but it's done in a really good way. And Sergio Martino was one of the masters of the genre. And I think this is one of the only decent Vipco releases. And starring, what's his name? Luke Miranda, who actually appeared in Hostel. And Edwidge Finch also appeared in Hostel 2. Was it Hostel 2? I think she play as the art teacher when the girls go to like Italy or France. I don't mind the Hostel films. They're all right. The third one was a bit naff, but Hostel 1 and 2, which I do need to buy, to me, work much better as one big film than two separate films. And I'm sure at one point I said like the end of Hostel 1 was, I don't know. But yeah, as one big film, it would work really well. But I enjoy them for what they are. That's the sort of like horror B, like modern horror B movie that I like. Then we've got, oh God, look at the dust on these. 3 releases from Shameless, who pretty much like 88 Films bought a lot of the rights to the Shameless releases, I think. We've got Milano Odia La Polizia Non Più Sparare, also known as Almost Human. Thomas William, Henry Silva, classic. A nice, brutal, mean-spirited Polizio Tesci. Yeah, Thomas William's awesome. But for me, Henry Silva absolutely steals the show. Some great moments in that. I need to upgrade that release. Then we've got third and final part of Dario Argento's Animals trilogy. Was it called the Animals trilogy? Can't remember. But this is can never remember the English time. Four Flies of Grey Velvet. On what? 4 Flies on Grey Velvet. Yeah, it's a weird looking end. But yeah, it's a nice trilogy of films. Although Black Cat for me, I really didn't like, but the score to that by Ennio Morricone is beautiful. But yeah, this is, I'd say, the more stylish out of the 3. It's like about like a drummer who witnesses or becomes like that sort of, the trope of he's not a detective, but he does detective work to find out the killer and gets embroiled in the plot. I need to revisit the Animal trilogy. Get a nice release of all 3 films. Then we've got A Formula for a Murder, directed by Albert Di Martina, starring David Warbeck. This is a good, cheesy, later entry into the genre. And yeah, when Shameless released this, because I used to get like screener copies from a lot of companies, because they'd always send like the proper releases, not just sort of like the check discs. And the first like batch of these, I'm sure it included, it was either a commentary track or an audio track that I don't think they had the rights to actually release. So they had to do a recall of it and then re-released it. And they sent me both. And it was quite gimmicky with the release of this, because you got a yellow Mac or water, what are they called? Not Macintosh. That's it. There's one of those things you put over you to protect yourself from the rain. And don't be a smart ass and say a coat. But yeah, you got one of those with it. So you look like a giant yellow condom, which was funny. But this is cheesy as fuck. And they pretty much give away the killer because that's how they promoted it. The legendary David Warbeck as the killer. But you're supposed to be surprised in the film. Let's see. X-Files was best horror, but in a way that played with your mind. Yeah, especially the earlier X-Files. I always remember because I used to watch it when it was like on UK TV. It was usually like Sunday nights, wasn't it, or something like that. And there were some like really genuinely scary episodes. And I always remember one. It was a black and white episode with a man who had like two faces. But then X-Files got really silly and it went too campy. And I mean, I know it's about unexplained phenomena and aliens, but it's sort of like, to me, it went out, just completely just went out of whack. And then the films were released. But yeah, I need to revisit the X-Files right from the start. Because Gillian Anderson. Some good films there, says Dave. Yeah, X-Files is pretty fantastic. Mac, Yellow Mac. Yeah, there we go. All them films are very enjoyable ones. Yeah, Fenech starred in Hostel. Never seen Hostel. It's a good sort of like cheap throwaway film. Some like shocks and some nice gore in there. But it sort of makes you think that there could be places like that in these secret societies. But I think Eli Roth he gets shit on a hell of a lot. But I don't mind Eli Roth. Wasn't a big fan of Green Inferno or Knock Knock, though. Even though Keanu Reeves was great in Knock Knock. But yeah, Gillian Anderson. Definitely. I think we can all agree on that one. So, I think it's about time we broke things up with some nice trailer action. So, if you can just bear with me 1 second, we shall get a nice trailer up on the screen and make this prone to being copyright stricken.
Right along, oh, I may go through the night. Right along, oh, I may go to the sun. In life, but for us, let's go. It's the time, amigo, let's go. Don't let your pal ride along. Ride along, oh, I may go through the night. Ride through the...
It's very abrupt, psychedelic Italian dub work there. Yeah, that trailer ended abruptly. Didn't expect that. So yeah, let's go back to the comments. I need to think of a much better, sort of smoother transition. Yeah, I agree with Gillian Anderson being a lovely lady. She is indeed. Very much so. So next up, we've got 2019, After the Fall of New York, a post-apocalyptic schlockfest, released by Shriek Show on their post-apocalyptic collection series. These are just good, fun, cheesy, sci-fi, campy films. And yeah, obviously, you know, borrowing, as a lot of the European films did, from popular films of the time. It's got a very Snake Plissken look, does he? But yeah, I love how on some of these DVDs they've got trailers, special features anamorphic widescreen, Dolby Digital 5.1 remix. How are they special features? But yeah, some good stuff. And I think also 88 Films released that as well in the UK. Next up, got another cheapie from 23rd Century, and this is Fear in the City, another Maurizio Merli film, starring James Mason. Don't know who directed this. I can't remember. It's not one of the best entries into Maurizio Merli's filmography. And I'm not sure if it's one of his reoccurring characters. But it's Tanzi, isn't it? Who's the one who's in a few films. But yeah, it's Maurizio Merli, one of my favourite actors of all time. So next up, we've got Rico the Mean Machine. This is released by Dark Sky Films, starring Chris Mitchum, son of what's his name? Robert Mitchum. Starring the absolutely gorgeous Barbara Boucher, who does a quite a nice striptease. I've just realised I've still got the banner going saying stream starting soon. This is just the preemptive part of the stream. But yeah, it's got Barbara Boucher doing a striptease on a car, and it's also got I won't spoil it, but if you're a man and you see what happens in one of the scenes, you will wince. And it's done in a really quite grotesque way. But yeah, Chris Mitchum's quite good in that. Then we've got a bit more of a straight-faced affair when it comes to Italian crime. This is a double feature released by Wild East with I Am the Law and Mafia. Not really action oriented or anything like that. A little bit more laid back. In fact, I Am the Law is, I think it's more of like a period piece more than anything else. But Mafia's quite good. I like that. Frank O'Neill's great in Mafia. But yeah, it's a little bit slower, not as actiony, but still fascinating little films. Hell Comes to Frogtown, now that's brilliant with my man Roddy Piper. Never seen Hell Comes to Frogtown, but I've heard good things. And I remember watching They Live. God, that's going back years to the point where I can't really, aside from like the Obey sort of things and that massive fight. John Carpenter had the way with those end of the world movies. Yeah, he does, doesn't he? I mean, I do like John Carpenter. I like his sort of like actiony stuff a bit more than his horror, from what I've seen anyway. Would never throw shade on John Carpenter. Then we've got Faccia a Faccia, directed by Sergio Solima. Nice western. It's rated 12, but it still packs a punch. This is a really nice Eureka release. I just find Eureka DVDs and Blu-rays really hard to find now. Not many shops seem to stock them for some reason. But yeah, this is one of those sort of tales where Gian Maria Volonte stars as a teacher. Yeah, he's a bit well-to-do. And then there's political undertones because Thomas Milian is playing as a revolutionary. I think we've touched upon this before, but the Italians rarely knew how to, no matter how schlocky or straight-faced their film was, they'd always be able to have a social, political sort of element to them and do it well without, hitting you over the head with it. The way like Jean-Luc Godard does with his sort of like his political sort of beliefs. But yeah, Thomas Milian plays the revolutionary. Their paths cross. I think they kidnap the teacher. But then it's like, who's the savage and who's... Do you know what I mean? It's one of those sorts of stories where the roles sort of change and the dynamic of the film changes. Let's see. Love John Carpenter, The Thing, Prince of Darkness, and In the Mouth of Madness. Still needs to see Prince of Darkness. Isn't that the one where Donald Pleasance plays as a priest? Bit of a tongue twister. Still need to see that. Love The Thing. The special effects in that still put so many modern films to shame. Really, really does. I'm scratching my stomach, by the way. I'm not reaching down into my crotch area. Next up, we've got Mike Malloy's Eurocrime documentary. This is a must for people who are very much aware of the genre and lovers of the genre, but it's also a great introduction to one of the best subgenres in Italian cinema. Escape from New York. Escape from New York's just an absolute classic. Really, really is. And yeah, maybe watching Big Trouble in Little China this week, actually. Because the Southport, the cinema in Southport where we watched Rebecca is showing that as well. So I might be popping down there. We'll see how things go. But yeah, this is fantastic. It interviews like the directors, producers, actors, actresses, and it's got loads of really cool clips in there as well. Just a really good film documentary. It's like that with music. It doesn't matter who the artist is or what the genre is. I'm fascinated by music documentaries. And I'm the same when it comes to films. I love watching documentaries about film. Yeah, Donald Pleasance's Prince of Darkness as the priest. It's my favourite movie from Carpenter. I really do want to watch that. Isn't it sort of like an anthology film as well? Could very much be wrong there. But yeah, I do need to see that. Then we've got a film that not a lot of people like, but I found it really quite entertaining. And I like the sort of drama that occurred during this film. But this is Dario Argento's Giallo, starring Adrian Brody, who I think he was just not getting paid, was he? So he sort of like took legal action or sort of like distance himself away from the film. But I tell you what, though, could you Photoshop his face anymore? Look at those eyes, and then on the back, it's so stupid. Plus, he plays as the killer as well. Spoiler alert. Even though he's a different character. Spoiler alert. Next up, we've got. Now, this is actually something a friend of mine from the movie collecting days made for me. Quite similar. I don't know if I showed it to that Giallo Venezia release that I might have showed off. But this is, it's a really nice sort of like fan release of Possession. Now, the film itself, I hate the fact people put this film on a pedestal. It's not that good of a film. And it's one of those films where a lot of silly things happen. But the director, Andrei Zulowski, like makes out, oh, this is a metaphor for this, and it's supposed to be No, you just made a daft, grotesque film. Just admit that it was a daft, grotesque film. That's my problem with like David Lynch and the people who are like diehard David Lynch fans. I find a lot of David Lynch's stuff is just absurd for the sake of being absurd, and to me it works better. I mean, we've gone into great lengths about how I struggled to get through Twin Peaks. I will revisit that though, because a good friend of mine is a massive fan of Twin Peaks and David Lynch, and she's persuaded me to give it another try. So I will try, and I'll try and be as well behaved as I can be. I heard they were making Escape New York. It's going to be shit. It's such a pointless film to remake, but it kind of makes sense because you know that Hollywood loves to remake films like that. But when they open a container, they inadvertently unleash a strange liquid and an evil force on all humanity. A group of graduate students and scientists uncover an ancient canister in an abandoned church. With Kurt Russell. I'm reading comments out of context. That wasn't anything to do with the comments I've just read. But yeah, so Possession for me, I mean, Sam Neill's good in it. Isabel Adjani, entertaining to watch. But to me, it's just such a... It's an overly pretentious film when it shouldn't be. It's schlocky, it's stupid, it's silly. Just own it. But my good friend, Gary, who also went under the name of Kulfi in the DVD and film collecting community, made a little bit of a sort of like a fan edition. So even with multiple artwork options, now these are just like print-offs, but quite high quality, really. But I used to love like making DVDs of bootlegs that I had. I did that with Robo War and Strike Commando, the Red Brown films, directed by Bruno and Ty. Great films. I think they've got official releases now, and I need to buy them. But yeah, so you get that as a potential artwork. You get a nice saucier piece of artwork. Then you've got the whichever region that's from, and then the UK sort of re-release. So you get multiple artwork options, which is always greatly appreciated. I do like a good cheeky reversible artwork. The film itself is just burnt onto a DVD, but I think it's one of those things where you sort of like ported special features from different releases and stuff like that and put it all together. Sort of like that Asian company who are releasing like fan editions of like classic Hong Kong action films, but doing infinitely better jobs than a lot of the actual companies here in the West. So you get that. There's a nice fridge magnet with one of the famous scenes. He included a Greek version of the film, which is one of those ones. Do you remember you used to get them with like the Daily Star and the tabloids? Then there's nice print off of her again. I mean, she's gorgeous though, isn't she? And I do find that scene where she's running through the underground, I do find that entertaining. And then you get a nice little art card there, and Sam Neill. But I can't stress enough, it's a fucking stupid film. And it doesn't annoy me because there's much worse things in the world. But the fact that people like laud it as like this, oh, it's so artistically credible. It's a film that's got many hidden meanings. It's like, no, it's about a woman who goes insane and fucks like an octopus animal thing. And Sam Neill just overacts. But it's funny and it's entertaining. So I won't shit on the film too much. But yeah, I love it when people do stuff like that. Let's see. So those comments haven't updated. So we're coming to the end of the first pile. I still need to pick up the pace with this. We've been going live for 50 minutes. Next up, we've got a really cheap release of Enzo G. Castellari's venture into Italian crime with Cold Eyes of Fear. This was came free with Dark Side magazine. But it's got that sort of like cheesy, gothy 90s UK sort of classic redemption look. I mean, what the fuck has that got to do with the actual film? And what about this? what the fuck is this? But it was another Polizio Tashi, but it's got some giallo aspects to it as well to add to the collection. And Castellari's an absolutely fantastic director. If you've not watched, they're not. It's not technically a trilogy, but the Bronx Warriors trilogy, which I used to have that Shameless tin, which is sold in the Great Purge of like 2008 or whenever it was. Just great films. One of the best action directors ever is Enzo G. Castellari. And that's not too bad. It's got the tropes, borrows heavily from Sam Peckinpah with the slow motion, wild bunch sort of thing, but still good. Have you seen Paganini Horror 1989 and The Black Cat 1990 with Luigi Cozzi? No, I haven't. In fact, I might have seen Paganini Horror. Wasn't that like it was made for TV movie? But again, you can pick up the 88 films release of that in the UK really cheap, so I might do that. But yeah, I'm not seeing that, and I'm not seeing Black Cat. I got that. It did come free with Dark Side, says Dave Jones. They don't do DVDs with Dark Side anymore, do they? I've never actually read Dark Side because every time I've like seen an issue of it in the shops, it's like talking about the same sort of stuff. There's always like a Hammer sort of featurette. But I do need to get back into my publications and stuff like that. Could be an idea for one of the podcasts. Just look at sort of like the film books and zines and magazines and stuff. If anybody would be interested in that. Next up, we've got a bit more giallo, and this is from the No Shame label, which some of these titles, from what I can see, are still hard to find, and for no reason whatsoever demand quite a hefty price, especially now where a lot of more easily accessible releases are available. But this is The Strange Vice of Mrs. Ward with George Hilton and the absolutely gorgeous Edwidge Fenech. Never know how to pronounce that name, by the way. And directed by Sergio Martino once again. Again, I think Shameless have released this in the UK, but I'm sure there's better releases that are English friendly. But yeah, good stuff. It's got some nice psychedelic elements to this, and there's a really, I think this is the film where there's a really intense and atmospheric chase in like a park. And it's just beautiful. Then we've got some more Fernando de Leo. I think we looked at a few of the films in previous episodes, and this is the Fernando de Leo Crime Collection. Battered as fuck, this release. It's a real shame because it's a beautiful release from Raro Video. So this includes Caliber 9, The Italian Connection, and The Boss, which I think were classed as the Milieu trilogy, whatever that means. Just great films, especially Italian Connection and The Boss, mainly because it's got Henry Silva in. And I'm a sucker for Henry Silva. And then the fourth film is Rulers of the City, which is also known as Mr. Scarface, which stars Jack Palance, but I don't really rate that film. It's on one of those budget releases that I've got as well. But yeah, this is essential Italian crime. And there's Blu-ray releases of these as well. And yeah, 4 films, and you get a nice booklet. And yeah, Fernando de Leo, fantastic director, fantastic writer, really intelligent individual. Again, did a lot of stuff that had like political undertones to it, but done it really well. Asked questions of the audience and that sort of stuff. Donald Pleasance also stars in Paganini Horror. I'll have to check that out. I'll have to look out for that. Right, I'm off to get up at 4 a.m. for work. I have to watch the end tomorrow. Good night, all. Good night, David. Hope you've not left before I could say goodbye. Thank you for joining. Glad you enjoyed, and I'm glad that you want to watch the rest of this when it gets uploaded. It really means a hell of a lot. Those movies from Luigi Cozzi are absolute Italian 80s cheese fest. check them out for some good laughs. I certainly will. And I need to go to the Profondo Rosso shop in Rome. I was actually planning on going to Italy before COVID happened. And it's going to be one of the first places that I do go to once I feel it's a little bit more safe and sensible to do so. I just really want to go to Naples. And I want to do like a pillage of Italian pillage. I don't want to pillage Italy. Pilgrimage. It's my favourite cheese, that Pillager's Choice. But yeah, I want to do like a pilgrimage of pizza, because obviously different parts of Italy do pizzas in different ways. So people are like, what, you want to go all the way to Italy just for some pizza? Well, yes. Duh. But I'd also love to go to some of the places where some of my favourite films were shot. But yeah, that Fernando de Leo collection, essential stuff. It's not rare or anything like that, but it's one of my favourite collections in the collection. Then we've got a bit of a highbrow affair with some Fellini, and this is Amarcord. I watched about 5 minutes of this and just didn't watch the rest of it. I don't know why. I'll have to revisit it. Because when I was in uni, I decided to do my, what's it called? It's not thesis. I'm not good with words. I'm just not good with words. But you know, your like final big essay piece, which should have gone for the practical actual work experience side instead of doing that, because I might actually have a job in media now. But I decided to do a whole, it's not thesis, I'm trying to think what the word is, but I did mine on the Italian giallo. And as a result of that, I was just buying loads and loads of Italian films. Not just giallo, just all sorts of Italian films. And I think this is one of those ones I bought because it was like £3 on Amazon. So, yeah, I make out like I'm this big film buff, but I've hardly seen any Fellini films. I've hardly seen any Nouvelle Vague films. There are so many important films that I need to watch. And I absolutely hate Citizen Kane, by the way. Not Italian film, obviously. It's just boring. Yeah, it's a Marvel. It's very important. I get it, but Citizen Kane it's not too good. Let's see. I also need to go to Profondo Rosso and meet Kotsu one day, hopefully as soon as possible. And got Paul from Pierre Brew News, who says, "Hi, cutie pie. Hello, gorgeous." And they say, yeah, it's pretty much a dissertation. That's what I was looking for, dissertation. But yeah, it's just essentially a long-worded essay. And I don't know if I've still got the actual original version, because I used to really enjoy writing about film, and I just completely stopped for whatever reason. But yeah, but good evening, Paul and Rosebud. So on that note, I think it's trailer time. I've got them all queued up. I take this very seriously. So we've got some 80s romantic cheese now, and I think I might have already shown this trailer on a previous episode, so I do apologise if I already have.
Hi. Well, come in. I've been looking forward to this. Well? This? Straight out. Take a wider stance. There you go. All right.
You're drunk.
You're right.
You worked for Mueller today, didn't you?
That's right.
Aren't you looking at me?
Because I...
Okay, that wasn't actually death, blood. That actually wasn't a trailer, so I'm going to show something else. What a dickhead. But we've got to keep the steam.
Scarface is exhilarating for its vigor and craftsmanship. Al Pacino creates his freshest character in years, says Richard Corliss, Time magazine. Roger Ebert, Chicago Sun-Times, gives Scarface 4 stars, highest rating. And Vincent Canby, New York Times, says Scarface is stylish and provocative. The most serious film about the American underworld since The Godfather. Al Pacino is Scarface. Rated R. Now playing at theaters everywhere.
Don't know what's going on. Just, I'm not even pressing mute and it's muting me. Yeah, forget that. Thief of Arts, it wasn't a trailer, it was just clips. I've been had by YouTube. But wanted to keep that Stephen Bauer connection alive by throwing up a bit of Scarface. And Thief of Arts is great 80s romantic cheese. So silently, sneakily muted, are you? It's probably for the better, to be honest. But yeah, Thief of Arts is a really good, cheesy 80s sort of like erotic drama. And I've always noticed, like in films like that, when it comes to like the love theme from blah blah blah, you know, there's really synth heavy ones. There's always like sort of like a real sense of menace about them. I don't know if that's just me, but there's something like really like moody and brooding, as if something really bad's going to happen when all it is just people are going to shag. But yeah, good cheesy film. And Scarface is a good cheesy film as well. Wouldn't say it's provocative though. So beer-wise, moved on to Eternal Waves Session IPA from Northern Monk. It's not bad. Northern Monk do much better though. So moving swiftly on. We've got the second Fernando de Leo collection box set, which includes Naked Violence, Shoot First, Die Later, and Kidnap Syndicate. Naked Violence, interesting film, set in a classroom where the students rape the teacher. Then Shoot First, Die Later. Again, just a good, cheap Italian crime film. And then Kidnap Syndicate as well, both starring Luke Miranda. But I just love the artwork on these. And yeah, I mean, look at that. He's been shot so bad that his face is actually melted. And you get a nice booklet as well. Yeah, this and the first box set are absolutely essential for fans of Italian cinema and Italian crime. And again, both are available on Blu-ray as well. Next up, we've got Last House on the Left. This was the 3-disc Ultimate Edition released by Metrodome. Love this artwork. I know Arrow have done an absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous release of this, which I will be picking up. But what I like about this is you get the documentary going to pieces, the rise and fall of the slasher. But yeah, God, I remember picking up my old Anchor Bay release of this from Asda ages ago, and just being like, "Whoa, what am I watching?" You look back at it now, and it's not as powerful, but still a classic film with that really out of place comedic element with the two policemen, where they rob a chick like a woman's like chicken coop van, and like they've got a theme tune. It's just weird. It's a weird film. And from the sounds of it, the cast were just really awful to the young victims in this. You've got David Hess, of course. What's the other guy's name? Fred Lincoln, who, of course, pornographer. Did a lot of rough, sort of directed a lot of rough porn back in the day. And yeah, from what I can gather, they took method acting maybe a little bit too far. But yeah, classic film. Not seen the remake yet though. Next up, I thought I'd already shown this, but I obviously haven't. This is another sort of fan release, which was one of four. And this is Giallo a Venezia, Mario Landi's sadistic and misogynistic Giallo masterpiece. I can't remember the guy who put this all together, but he did an absolutely fucking awesome job with it. And I think he even did a Blu-ray version. Didn't do it for money, just sent it to me. But yeah, what you get with this one, I can't show that. I'd love to show that because it's a wonderful photo, but I can't. Not only do you get the film, which I think is one of those ones where it takes parts of different prints to give you the most complete uncut version. I've heard that there is actually a legitimate release of this. Not only that, you get the bootleg soundtrack. You get fan edition notes. So this version of Giallo a Venezia has been taken from two different sources and spliced together to create the ultimate uncut version. The hardcore footage has been taken from video cassette do Brasil VHS tape, and the main movie has been taken from Italian Star Video VHS. It's also been brightened up, but the quality is still below normal DVD standard. Easily overlooked that, especially on films like this. So you get a little bit of an introduction to the film itself. Obviously not because it's got Photoshop, but this looks like a proper like vintage postcard. It's even got a postcard on the back. I love little things like that. I mean, how would you not want to visit a place like that? So you get that. You get the sort of like iconic, I think that's taken from a VHS artwork or a poster. Love that. That should go up on the wall. Definitely. You also get, now I've got to be very careful with what I show. One of the actresses from the film, taken from obviously a magazine shoot that she did. Got to be very careful with my thumbs, ladies and gentlemen. But tell you what a pose that is. Why can't women be like that now? And you also got, he made badges, a red badge with that artwork on it, which I hope I've still got. If I've lost that, I'll be proper gutted. But yeah, it's just, I love touches like that. Didn't do it for profit. It probably cost them a fair bit. And all that time and energy that would have been used. But yeah, and it also comes with special features. Photo prints, postcard, pin badge, image gallery trailers, and a bootleg soundtrack. But yeah, Mario Landi's Giallo a Venezia. I think it's one of the films like some like X-Ray Cult would have released. Let's see. Do you have Cat o' Nine Tails or Four Flies on Grey Velvet? I do indeed have Four Flies on Grey Velvet. Awesome film. Wasn't a big fan of Cat o' Nine Tails, but I love the soundtrack. I love the score from Ennio Morricone. Mario Landi, director Giallo Venezia, and Fairies Kitties. I need to get this one. I do not have it yet. Yeah, it's a good rough giallo, and I can't remember watching that version of it because I watched like a download of it. This is just like a bit of like memorabilia, and I don't fully know what these are, but because 120 Days of Sodom probably been my favourite film of all time, I picked this up off eBay. It's sort of like a library reference sort of card. I have no idea what it's actually part of, but it like talks about the actors and the history of it. But yeah, I don't fully know what this is. It's French, I believe. Yeah, French. It's a French sort of reference card, and I don't know what it's from, but I like it. The protective sleeve is dustier than your grandparents' abandoned bungalow, but I know. Next up, one of my favourite giallo films, The Cat's Victims, directed by Antonio Bido. It gets slated because they say it rips off Argento and Goblin, but the soundtrack from this, from Trans Europa Express, which is a pseudonym of two conductors who I can't remember their names. Does it say? No, it just credits them as Trans Europa Express. Probably the best giallo score. This was just a beautiful, beautiful looking film, and again, I really need to upgrade to the 88 films release of that. Fantastic stuff, really, really is. I've got some Arrow Takeshi Miike goodness, Deadly Outlaw Wrecker. Obviously a what's the gang called? Just ignore what I just said then, because I don't even know what I was saying. Yakuza film from the prolific Takeshi Miike. Doesn't always hit the high notes with me, but I remember this being good. There's the reversible artwork showing the Japanese cover. It's got a really cool soundtrack to this. In fact, they go on about it in the booklet, like some Japanese psychedelic rock band. But yeah, I don't remember too much about this one. We'll have to revisit it. But it's Takeshi Miike doing Yakuza. What could go wrong? Let's see. If you want to check out my playlist on my YouTube profile, I have loads of goodies and good quality in there. I shall certainly do that. I do like it when you come across a good film on YouTube, because I think you can even get the After Hours Mall cut of Dawn of the Dead on YouTube, which is again one of those where it takes every sort of aspect from each different print and release to give you a full vision of even though it's not, because it's a fan thing, but hey ho. But yeah, we've got Ruggiero Deodato's venture into Poliziotteschi with Live Like a Cop, Die Like a Man, another release that 88 Films have got here in the UK. Sort of like a buddy cop film, but I think there's undertones of them being a gay couple sort of thing. I can't remember too much of it. A lot of these films I've watched once and years ago. Giallo, Venezia, and The Cat's Victims are on my to get list. Death Smiles on a Murder is on list too. After Hours Mall Cut is my favourite cut for the Dawn of the Dead. Yeah, I still need to watch that. Dawn of the Dead's one of those films, no matter what the version I watch, I absolutely love it. And I absolutely love this release as well. I mean, obviously, at a time, this was like, oh, you've got that release. But now, they've released that 4K box set, which looks fucking awesome, by the way. But I just love this. I love the slipcover. It's dusty as hell and pretty much ruined, so I'll have to get that sorted. But it's just the attention to detail in this 4-disc set. Beautiful sort of, are they called digipacks, the way this is released? This is. You've got the US theatrical version, the extended version, and the European version, as well as documentaries. You've got a comic book adaptation of Dawn of the Dead. Who's that by? From New Amsterdam Entertainment. And then you've got, obviously, what comes with the film. And then a nice, yeah, again, tells you what's on each disc. But you've got the layout of the shopping mall. Now, how come that hasn't... Someone needs to make a stylized version of the map of the mall from Dawn of the Dead and release it as like an A1 poster, because that would be awesome. I mean, Dawn of the Dead, I mean, I know I was going on about Hell of the Living Dead being like one of my favourite zombie films. This, for me, is just the quintessential zombie film. I know some people prefer Night of the Living Dead more, and I know some people prefer Day of the Dead more, but there's just something about this film. And it's a classic for a reason. It's, I mean, obviously, we've got Paul from PA Brew News, you know, massive fan as well, and lucky enough to go to events and what they called where you go to different filming locations and stuff like that. Shot in Pittsburgh, wasn't it? I'd love to go to Pittsburgh and I just love it. I love I love the fan aspect of Dawn of the Dead. I don't think there's many films out there that has that sort of fan community that it does. Let's see. The Bud Spencer Terence Hill films are fun. I'd never know where to buy copies of those. When I was living in Germany, Bud Spencer and Terence Hill, like, for some reason, have got such a massive following even now, with the German sort of market. So you get like complete box sets of all their films, but none of them were English friendly. And I've never really seen an English friendly release of any of the Bud Spencer and Terence Hill films, but I want to. Loses too much of the satire for me. I think that's in regards to the Argento cut of Dawn of the Dead. The Monville Mall is the mall my family grew up going to PA Pride. Night, Dawn, Day in that order. But more Goblin soundtrack and overall more Italian feel. It's not my alley, but hey, it's cool to have the multiple choices. Yeah, and I think each version of Dawn of the Dead gives you something different. And that's what I like about it. Just the atmosphere of it. And one of the scenes that will always in cinema history make me wince is when, you know, the mall's getting invaded by the biker gang. And that guy who, you know, because that makes perfect sense. Let's check my, when he puts his arm in the machine, what I can't remember what it does, like checks your heart. Checks your heart, essentially. There's a term for it, but I'm a stupid fucking idiot. I don't know words. But it's like in the middle of this, all this chaos, there's zombies everywhere. And he checks his like blood pressure. And then just gets, the way he gets ripped open, it's just, there's something, it always sort of like makes my stomach turn. Blood pressure, yeah, blood pressure. I'm a fucking idiot sometimes. But yeah, Dawn of the Dead, just, I love it. And I do enjoy Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead. Doesn't even come close to being in the shadow of the original, but it's still an entertaining film. But I digress. I could just go on about Dawn of the Dead all night, to be honest. Next up, we've got Malabimba, the Malicious Whore, the X-rated version, released by Severin. This was another one of those films that I spent ages trying to find. I think I got it in a trade with an American guy. What was his name? His name's Jason. He sorted me out some really good films. And yeah, this is a fun, schlocky film. Good combination of sleaze, gore, and sex. And it's a little bit questionable because Malabimba plays as, I think she's supposed to be like a 16-year-old girl in this film. And doesn't she have like sex with her dad who's in a wheelchair or something like that? It's really distasteful. Obviously, the actress is of age. But yeah, fuck the remake. Completely understand. Let's see. Fulci does better zombies compared to the blue ones. See, I like that sort of aspect to them. There's a Tom Savini commentary where he addresses that, and it sort of adds this sort of sci-fi element to it. But yeah, I think we could debate Dawn of the Dead till the zombies come to feast. Hey, that's quite clever. That I'm proud of that. Next up, we've got another ZDD bootleg of another Maurizio Merli crime film, and this is Seagulls Fly Low. Again, can't remember too much of it because I had the idea that I wanted to do a zine dedicated to the films of Maurizio Merli, but it never happened because I never see things through, and I always doubt my own ability. And yeah, that's why it's taken such a long time for me to get back into the film stuff on YouTube. Then we've got, from Arrow Classics, a film by Vittorio De Sica, Bicycle Thieves. A classic in that sort of neo-realism. I think that's what the movement was called. Yeah, neo-realist. Again, another genre that I've yet to really truly discover. But this is just a classic film, and I need to upgrade this release as well. Excuse me. Well, basically, it's basically a down and out guy. He's putting up posters for a living, and the only way he can get about is on his bicycle. It gets stolen, and it's basically him and his son trying to find the bike, and it's just gives you a sort of a look into what was going on at the time in post-war Italy, like many of the neo-realist films did. Now we're going to something a bit more smutty, and it's caked in dust. It's better to be caked in dust than something else. But we've got the Grindhouse double feature of Carter Stevens' punk rock and Pleasure Palace. And look how dusty that is. It's caked on. It's like it's growing on it. But yeah, Carter Stevens, one of my favourite porn directors from the 70s and 80s. Punk rock is fantastic. In fact, there's a link to this, which we'll get into. But these are like the R-rated versions of each film. What I like about the R-rated version of punk rock is it's a great, it was pretty much the first time punk rock was put on screen, showing you performances from Max's Kansas City. I mean, the X-rated version's a good X-rated version. It's a good porno, essentially. But the R-rated version is a completely different film in and of itself. It replaces like the hardcore stuff with like performances from punk bands and things like that. But you've got Dennis Parker and imagine would he go into the name of Wade Nichols? But yeah, you've got Dennis Parker going against, oh my god, how have I forgot his name? Robert Kerwin, from obviously Cannibal Holocaust fame. And I don't know, it's just a good private detective story. It's well written, it's quite well acted, and it basically uses the whole score from The Hanged Man, the Alan Tew score. is just fantastic. This is a must. Pleasure Palace, I think you'd need to watch the X-rated version, to be honest. But yeah, I got this purely because of the Alien 2 soundtrack. And this is just good, like classic, you know, vanilla 70s crime drama. Starring Colin Blakely in an exceptional performance. But yeah, this is released by Network. Their releases are pricey as fuck a lot of the time. But yeah, basically he plays as he like owns his own building business, and it starts off with him having an assassination attempt, and then he goes and looks to see why and what happens and how it unfolds. Complete series made by Yorkshire Television and originally screened in 1975 is available for the first time in DVD format. Just, I love stuff like this. Right up my street. And the score's amazing. Let's see. And in my mind, Zombie 2 is a prequel to Dawn of the Dead. All the zombies reigning in the city at the end of Zombie Flesh Eaters. That's a classic scene at the end of that. If it wasn't for Night, modern zombies wouldn't exist or would have a completely different turn and took much longer to do it, definitely. The zombies that were actually different at the time were Tombs of the Blind Dead zombies. A down and out guy sounds like me. I think we can all relate to that. But yeah, I still need to watch the Blind Dead films. Because I've always wanted that box set that Anchor Bay released that comes in the coffin shape. But I want the films as a collection. There was zombies before Night. It all started in real life in Africa or Haiti. Yeah, and they were shit. Nice little discussion there between Paul and Pedro. That's what it's all about. So we've got a few more pornos from the Golden Age. First up, well, I'll show you that we've got 3 films from Henry Paris, aka Bradley Metzger. All of these released by Distropix. We've got The Private Afternoons of Pamela Mann. I think based on an actual story. You get the Barbara Bourbon like headshot included with this. It's a really nice release, this. And then the music of Henry Paris. So some adverts, and then quite a girthy book. Very classy, very well made. Henry Paris, Bradley Metzger was just an absolute genius. And I did have the opportunity to interview him when Arrow were releasing some of his earlier films. But I was at uni at the time and I had to turn it down. And I regret that because not long after that, he actually passed away. And much like Carter Stevens, he's up there for me as one of the best directors in his field. And not only that, his non-hardcore stuff was fantastic as well. Because I think he started off as like editing together trailers of European films. But yeah, fantastic director and an absolute gentleman by all accounts. Then we've got Naked Came a Stranger, based on the New York Times bestseller by Penelope Ash. Really nice release, this one. I think Robin Bougie of Cinema Sewer fame did the artwork to this. What extras you get in this one? You get some more adverts. Darby Lloyd Rains in Naked Came a Stranger, a nice art print. And then also a nice booklet there. Lots of information. Again, it's got a bit of like high society and class to it. Very nice indeed. And then we've got Maraschino Cherry. Best erotic film of all time, it states. Let's see who stars in this one. You've got Annette Haven, absolutely gorgeous woman. Leslie Bovey, CJ Lang, Constance Money, Susan McBain, Jenny Baxter, Wade Nichols, Eric Edwards. Again, High Society, beautiful release. This one's from Video X Pix, but Big Dish Pix is like part of that same company. You get original film footage. So is that naughty? Is it rude? I think it's just two people kissing. Well, what a nice touch that is. Then there's a liner notes, very nicely presented. Comes in a nice slip cover. Can't really remember the storylines to any of these films really, but very nice. And then we've got the Cinema de Bazaar bootleg release of Waterpower, classic Jamie Gillis film. Who's this directed by? Can't remember who it's directed by, but Sean Costello. Sean Costello directed some really grisly pornos in his day, and this is one of them, otherwise known as The Enema Bandit. And is it Sean Costello? I think he went to prison. I can't remember. But yeah, Jamie Gillis, legend, stars as, I think he's like a Vietnam vet. He's got similar feelings to Taxi Driver, but he enacts his revenge on people and innocent women by performing enemas on them, and you actually see that stuff happening. Let's see. Don't you think I know that? What the fuck? Don't roll me. It's all good. I was lolling that myself. Don't take it personal. I was lolling to real life zombies. Well, do you know what real life zombies are now? People who are just on their smartphones all the time. And yeah, I sound like I'm a 50-year-old man when I say shit like that, but I mean it. Next up, we've got, this is released by After Hours Cinema, the Carter Stevens Teenage Twins collection, which includes the full uncut version of Punk Rock, Teenage Twins, starring real life twins, how you can do that without getting arrested, I'm not sure, and Roller Babies, nice bit of sci-fi scene with a really quite nice scene involving a lot of pistachio ice cream. But I'll leave that there for you to discover. Then we've got a film by a friend of mine who I've not actually spoke to for a while, Nick, Dyslexic Nick, from Dead Good Films like. This is Brutal Jesus and The House of Wasted Youth. Mess with his faith, he'll mess with your life. Yeah, Nick is a fantastic director. Does cheap films really well. Not trying to be bigger than they are. He's totally aware of it. And he's actually doing a documentary about DVD collectors and stuff, which he asked me ages to go to film like a segment for it, but I just never got round to it. That's good fun. It actually involves, didn't realise it, a person I went to school with as well, which was interesting to see. Then we've got another Eureka release, and this time it's of Shogun Samurai, just an epic sort of film. Beautifully staged, directed by Kinji Fukasaku. Don't say it in an accent, Peter. That's completely uncalled for. Can't really remember too much. I remember buying this the same day that I bought Faccia. Be 130 minutes long, so it's a long one. Just majestic, such a big scope, and that's what I love about Japanese films of that era. Then we've got Lars von Trier's Antichrist, including that infamous scene with the scissors. I love Lars von Trier. His films are fantastic when you've just broken up with someone, and you can see his depression in the films. This was part of a depression trilogy, obviously, which was Melancholia, and I can't remember what the third film is as part of the trilogy. But yeah, this is a good film. All of his films look absolutely beautiful. Nymphomaniac is still my favourite film of his, but this is awesome. And Willem Dafoe puts in a great performance. Going back to the sum up for a second, we've got the classic Forced Entry, another one released by After Hours Cinema, starring Harry Reeves, again as a Vietnam vet, and again just going off the rails and doing some absolutely horrific things to innocent people. But yeah, I used to have like the Alpha Blue box set, which included like loads of grimy pieces of adult filth, with the likes of Sean Costello and stuff like that. This one is directed. Oh, it's Sean Costello, yeah. But yeah, this is nice and nasty. This is the DVD of La Haine. I've upgraded to the Blu-ray version from BFI, so we don't really need to talk about that. Let's see. Kirsten Scott Thomas, Amazing Melancholia, Kirsten Dunst, and that's from Carcajou 78. Good evening. I've not watched Melancholia. I still need to get round to that. And House Sir Jack Built was a really good one. The Idiots, that was fun. Breaking the Waves, I really, really like that one. That one with Bjork, I can't remember what it's called. That was good. But yeah, I need to see that TV series he did as well. The Kingdom, just you say that, that pops up. I need to get a good release of that. Because I just like how unhinged he is and nihilistic. And I can relate to him a lot of the time. But I won't make the same comments about Nazis that he did. Back to 80s cheese, we've got Hard Bodies 1 and 2, released by Anchor Bay. Hard Bodies is just a fucking awesome film. Watch that as a double feature with Heavenly Bodies, which I've no idea if that's ever going to get an official release, but it should do because it's a great film. But yeah, this is good. I think it's like a Playboy production, essentially. Hard Bodies 2, quite a forgettable film. Basically, a group of like wealthy older men rent out a beach. They want to just, hit the beach, get with girls, and then they do. And that's what it's about, really. People hooking up and on the beach in the 80s. What more could you want? Then we've got The Essential Clash. Contains promo videos plus the Clash's never seen before home movie Hell W10, which is good. I like that. Clash, one of my favourite bands of all time, so of course I'm going to have this. An absolute must for any Clash fan. Then we've got Grave of the Fireflies, Studio Ghibli. Fucking hell did this film make me cry. It's one of those examples of when people say, oh, you watch anime and cartoons, isn't that for kids? You've never seen this film. It's absolutely heartbreaking. It really, really is. It fucked me up. It really did. But it is fantastic, and I need to get a nice Blu-ray release of that. Then we've got the Studio Canal DVD of my favourite Ben Wheatley film, Kill List. Ben Wheatley, one of my favourite directors, but I still need to catch up on a lot of his films. This is just I don't know, there's something about the pacing of this film. From start to finish, it's just instantly watchable. Never a dull moment, even when there's nothing really happening. I like the ending to this film. I'm not going to spoil it for people who haven't seen it and want to see it. But let's just say, if you like pagan sort of, what's that term? Pagan folk horror. There's a nice element of that. There's a bit of comedy in there. It's got Michael Smiley, one of the best actors working at the moment. I just think this is a fucking amazing film, and you should definitely watch it if you haven't done so already. So we've come up to the last pile, so I think we're going to have... I'm not going to show a trailer, but I'm going to show an intermission because I need to have a piss, and I also need to get another beer. So enjoy.
Well, we can't just drift here forever.
Let's go, gang.
Mommy, I want some.
It sounds good, Charlie. Why is it yellow?
You're behaving like a pack of people.
This is the last straw. Okay. All right, fellas, hold it down. Well, this is a nice way to wind up.
Death. How do I stop that now? There we go. So yeah, intermission beat me. I love shit like that. Not seen Fireflies. My neighbor Totoro slayed me. So that death will, kill us really surprised me. I love the ending. Yeah, same here. And I love Totoro. I do need to build up my collection. I'm out of breath walking up the stairs. I need to rebuild. Well, not rebuild. I need to actually build a collection of anime. Because I'm not big into anime. Like, the series. But I like anime films like Akira. Those sort of like pivotal sort of movies. But Ghibli always gets me. It could be the happiest film ever with no sort of dread or horror or anything or real life themes in there. It still can get me. So that's the last beer of the night. We're going to Amity Brew Co. And this is their Water Pistol Juicy Pale Ale. 4.6% ABV. Looking like what most pale ales look like nowadays. It's all right. Next up, we've got a film. We've got a film that I actually heard about from Robin Bougie. He wrote an article about this in Cinema Sewer. And ever since then, I've wanted to watch it. And this is a German DVD release. And I've got to say, it has got the dodgiest DVD artwork I have ever seen in my life. Little Darlings. Can we agree that DVD cover might be a little bit problematic? But it's basically coming of age story of two girls. They go to like a holiday camp. They become really good friends, and it's got a young Matt Dillon in there as well. But yeah, you could do much better artwork than that. Nancy isn't even the word. We've got another cheap one from 23rd Century. and this is William Shatner's Mysteries of the Gods. It's William Shatner shattening it up and talking about aliens and stuff. Awesome. Just totally of its time and wonderful for it. Let's see. Which video fiend is our last? Also, if you like anime. Okay. See, I'm always trying to make notes of films that are recommended in shows and stuff. But yeah, I have to get more into that sort of stuff. Next up, we've got the classic Saturday Night Fever, and a film that's become a little bit more poignant for me, because this is one of those films that I always ended up watching with my late stepdad. Whenever it came on, we'd just sit and end up watching it. And people have this sort of like idea that this is just like a cheesy 70s disco film, but it's not. It really isn't. There's a lot more to it than, you know, just Bee Gees and dancing. It's actually quite brutal in some places, and deals with some really dark topics. But yeah, it's a great film. It's great for that sort of stuff, but it's actually just a really powerful, well written and acted film. And Lloyd Kaufman actually was involved in the location scouting in this film. But yeah, fantastic stuff. It really, really is. And again, I need to upgrade to a nicer release. But that release is pretty good as well. John Travolta is the man in that film. A blast. Oh, okay. Then we've got the first release of Dawn of the Dead that I ever picked up. And I've never parted with it. I remember watching, I've probably said this story so many times, but I was just sat up watching Film 4. Well, no, I was just flicking through TV, and I flicked over to Film 4, and thinking about it now, it must have been about 45 minutes to an hour into the film. Just ended up keeping it on and loving every minute of it. So the next day, I went out to Music Zone, classic shop in the UK, and picked up a DVD release. And I've had this ever since. And the thing that I like the most about this release is it includes a commentary with Tom Savini, which I've never heard on any other release. But yeah, Dawn of the Dead, it's a classic. And you can tell that my room's dusty because I'm getting a blocked nose. My throat's starting to create foam. I might have rabies, you never know. Next up, we've got Thomas Vinterberg's Festen, which was the second film in the Dogma 90. I can't believe I actually nearly just snotted on camera. But yeah. So this was actually the first film in the Dogma 95 manifesto, and then Idiots was the second one. But yeah, this is a good sort of like dark drama comedy. Thomas Vinterberg does that sort of film really, really well. In fact, well, it's here. My favourite film of his that I've seen so far, The Hunt or Jagten, starring Mads Mikkelsen. But this is it gets very dark in places. Basically, it's about like the matriarch of the family. It's his birthday, so everyone comes to the big house, and it's like different stories all intertwined of like the different sort of like people who are there, and then it all turns to shit because of a what's the word that I'm looking for? They find out something, and then it all goes to shit. And yeah, where are you showing it, Peter? There's only one fucking camera. But yeah, it's just a really well-made film. And then The Hunt with Mads Mikkelsen. Just a flawless film. And Mads Mikkelsen is perfect. He basically plays as a school teacher. His friend's daughter gives him a hug. Obviously, you hug your teacher, especially if it's your dad's best friend, and then accuses him of basically being a pedo. And it's one of those things where it shows you how harmful a rumour can be. And Mads Mikkelsen's character's life gets absolutely turned around. Some really horrible stuff happens. Very frustrating film. Not for any sort of like technical or story reasons, but just because what happens in the film is just so frustrating to see. And it angers you. It really does anger you at times. So it's very powerful film indeed. Highly recommended. Then we've got the Tartan Asia Extreme Collector's Edition of The Ring. This is the 4-disc set, which includes Hideo Nakata's Sleeping Bride. So you've got the 3 Ring films, and then you've got the extra film. I think these are just great films. And again, definitely a set that I need to update because Arrow did an absolutely fantastic looking release of this, or the trilogy, I should say. But yeah, really nicely presented. I don't mind the American versions either, to be honest. But I think these are fantastic. I think there's like Korean versions as well, like a TV movie. So it's a series that I'd like to get into a bit more, to be honest. Classic J-horror, but we all knew that anyway. Then we've got a couple of anthologies from the BFI. We've got Dead of Night, the surviving episodes of the series, and Supernatural. Just classic British theatrical period piece for the most part. It's one of those things where you see actors who you see all the time, who you never really know their names, sort of like in long lines of like A Play for Today and that sort of Tales of the Unexpected. Just like quintessential British storytelling, playhouse theatrical sort of quite quiche, quite kitschy, niche. But then you look at the work of like the League of Gentlemen and Mark Gatiss and Inside Number 9, those sorts of things borrow heavily a lot from these sorts of series from back in the day and films from back in the day. But yeah, this is some good stuff. I love stuff like this. I like, ghost stories for Christmas. You know what I'm talking about. Then we've got a couple of releases from Artificial Eye. We've got Michael, which is a film by Marcus Schleitzer, who is a protege of the legend that is Michael Haneke. And this is basically a story about a man, a paedophile, who kidnaps a child and just basically keeps him prisoner at his house. And it's sort of like how they sort of like talk to each other and things like you never see anything, and there's never anything implied or anything like that. But it's just quite interesting, to say the least. And there's a really funny, and you sort of feel wrong for laughing at it. But they're at a dinner table and they're eating, and the kidnapper says, he holds up a knife and says something along the lines of, "Would you prefer for me to like stab you, or would you prefer to suck my dick?" And the kid just like goes, "I'd much rather you stab me." It's a weird film, but it's done really well. I'm not selling it at all. I know I'm not. But if you like that sort of uncomfortable vibe that Michael Haneke has with his films, you'll definitely enjoy that. Sort of makes you question, did I really laugh at that scene? Then we've got Peter Strickland's Barbarian Sound Studio. I think this is an absolute modern masterpiece. If you're going to watch this, watch it at like 2 o'clock in the morning with the lights turned off, curtains drawn, pitch black. It's a sensory overload of a film. Toby Jones is fantastic. It's the best film that Peter Strickland's made. I've seen a couple since this, and they just have not even scraped the surface of this film. Basically, Toby Jones is he's a Foley artist, and he's been hired by an Italian film director in the 70s to do all the Foley work. And he sort of gets so entranced into the film itself that he starts to it affects him mentally, and it's just a wonderful, wonderful film. And the soundtrack from Broadcast, just amazing. Then we've got more Ben Wheatley with A Field in England. This is again, if you like your sort of folk horror, you're going to really enjoy this. Reece Shearsmith is fantastic in this film. Very well played. Shot in black and white. Beautiful. I love the fact that Ben Wheatley used nice cameras, but like really cheap lenses, and like scratched them all to get different effects. I love that sort of filmmaking. And there's some really, really striking slow motion scenes. And again, the music in this is just absolutely phenomenal. I can't remember who did the music. But yeah, sound design, cinematography, just a really striking film. Hi Peter, have you considered doing like an introduction to Italian horror films? It's a genre that I want to go into, but no, don't know where to start. That could be a really good idea, actually. Not that I'm an expert, but I could give you my opinion on where to start with Italian cinema. I've just realised my man breasts are now resting, and it's caused a crease in the dungarees. But yeah, that would be a good shout, that actually. Thank you for that suggestion, Luke. But yeah, Italian film, it's a wonderful rabbit hole to fall down. Then we've got some TV, probably one of the most underrated British comedy series of all time. And that's 15 Stories High, series 1 and 2. Sean Locke, and I can never remember the Asian guy's name. Benedict Wong. Basically, Sean Locke stars as a lifeguard living in a block of flats, and he's got a new tenant with Benedict Wong, who, what a career he's had. And yeah, it's just, I don't know, there's just something about it. It cuts to different people in the housing block. There's Toby Jones in there as well. And it's just a really funny, understated British comedy. Highly recommended. Yeah, saw it all alone back when it works, when soundtrack and sounds mean the Bavarian Sound Studio. Yeah, it's an audio visual masterpiece. Stick with the word masterpiece. We've got Nil by Mouth, the only film that Gary Oldman has directed, and it makes me think, why hasn't he done more? Because this is one thing that we do really, really well in the UK when it comes to film and TV is drama. Kitchen sink drama, relatable drama, showing you just how shit life can be sometimes. Some of this is relatable. Some of this you'll relate to because a friend of yours has gone through something like this as well. Just brilliantly acted. Kathy Burke, Way Winston, Gary Oldman's sister, Little Mo from EastEnders. Yeah, it's just an absolutely phenomenal film. And it's even got like I think Eric Clapton did the soundtrack. I think there's a performance from Eric Clapton in like the nightclub or the sort of like Labour club that they go to. Just awesome. If you like sort of like Ken Loach, Mike Lee sort of films, and the guy who did Scum and The Firm, then you'll really enjoy it. Then we've got Rainer Werner Fassbinder's Fear Eats the Soul. Never watched this, but it's basically it tackles the tricky subject of racism and mixed race couples. And I could imagine at the time that this film was released, 1974, this would have been quite a controversial film. I do have, I think I showed them last time, that box set from Fassbinder, and I've heard a lot about his films, and as a person, he intrigues me. But I've not actually watched this yet, so it needs to go on the pile to watch. And I'm slowly gathering a coating of dust on my bedroom floor. A little bit more light-hearted, we've got Superfly. Just a fantastic film. What more can I say? I think it's quite an inspirational film in the sort of blaxploitation genre. Definitely inspired a lot of contemporary African American filmmakers, as well as rappers. And Curtis Mayfield's score to this is just absolutely phenomenal. But yeah, Ron O'Neal is fantastic in this film. Highly, highly recommended. And again, blaxploitation is a genre that I really need to get into a bit more. Next up, if you're one of those people who actually agrees in the concept of guilty pleasures, I think this is a film that you would class as that. To me, there's no such film as no such thing as guilty pleasures. If you like something, you like something. And I very much like this film, and that's Flashdance. Giorgio Moroder doing the soundtrack. Jennifer Beals looking absolutely fucking flawless. Yeah, it's a product of its time, but I like it very much. But even though the end scene is a man dancing in a wig. A couple of other Clash-related films. We've got West Way to the World, nice documentary, and then Joe Strummer and the Futurism Written. Who's that directed by? Julian Temple. Now this film made me cry because Joe Strummer is like one of my all-time icons. The Clash, possibly the greatest band that has ever lived. Sorry, the Stranglers. I love you very dearly, but the Clash were there before you were. And yeah, just a flawed person, but just humble and just a decent human being. But yeah, this is a fantastic music documentary. Even if you're not a fan of Joe Strummer or the Clash or the Mescaleros, highly recommended. Then we've got a really shit release of Twins of Evil. Now, if Paul's still watching this, he'll know exactly why I like this film a lot. It's got two very busty, attractive young ladies wearing very flimsy nightgowns. And it's got Peter Cushing as well, so yeah, there's not more you can say really. But yeah, I don't like this artwork. It literally looks like someone's done a really good drawing and then just used Crayola to colour it in. So I need to upgrade that, definitely. Murder Rock is Lucio Fulci's own take on Flashdance. Still need to see that as well. Another sort of classic. I think some of these... We talked about Thriller last time, didn't we? Yeah, so we'll put that on the pile. And we've got a couple of artificial eye releases. First one is Michael Haneke's Amour, starring Jean-Louis Trintignant. That's how you say it. Emmanuel Riva and Isabelle Huppert. Anything with Isabelle Huppert in there, sign me up. Basically, an old couple, wife's getting ill, and something quite shocking happens. But yeah, it's very rare that I say this, but it's worthy of the Oscars that it won. And I need to see Michael Haneke's latest film, because Toby Jones is in it, isn't he? Anyway, next up we've got Krzysztof Kiełowski's The Double Life of Veronique. This is a lovely film. There's just something really nice about it. He's a very talented director indeed. But if you're a fan of his work, you already know that. But yeah, you get some short films in there as well. Can't remember too much of what happens in this, and I'm not too sure if her character in this is the same character that she plays in Three Colours Red. But yeah, basically it's a woman who sees her double, essentially. And it makes her question life, from what I remember. Probably not even saying what happened in that film, but hey ho. Next up, we've got some amazing cheese and just a fun film. Starring Lou Ferrigno, Red Brown, Cage. And the special features on this: full screen presentation. Audio is English 2.0 Dolby Stereo. Scene selection, interactive menus, and digitally remastered. An exceptionally stylish and dynamic martial arts movie. Now, the thing that makes this film stand out is Lou Ferrigno's character. Starts off, I think it's in Vietnam. Red Brown, Lou Ferrigno, part of a squadron or whatever you call them, special forces, and as they're like escaping the war zone in a helicopter, Lou Ferrigno gets shot in the head, but he somehow manages to maintain his grip because he's like holding on to Red Brown. Can't remember if Red Brown's in the helicopter or if it's Lou Ferrigno's character in the helicopter, but he gets shot in the head but manages to keep hold of Red Brown for the duration of the journey. Then it cuts to like present day, and like obviously Lou Ferrigno's got a little bit of brain damage in the film. There's a really funny scene where you see Lou Ferrigno break down and cry, and he's sort of like, he gets conned into being a cage fighter by like a seedy, gangster. But it's just good cheese. Highly recommended. It's silly. It had me laughing throughout most of it, to be honest. We're coming up to the end of these, folks. What a journey we've had. You sat here watching me talk about my fucking DVDs and Blu-rays. The podcast will get better. Don't worry. Next up, we've got an entry into Quentin Tarantino's short-lived Rolling Thunders Pictures label, and this is Switchblade Sisters. Yeah, it's just a fun film with cute girls who kick a lot of arse. What more could you want? Directed by Jack Hill. It's got commentary with Jack Hill and Tarantino. An introduction to an analysis of Jack Hill's career by Tarantino. Puts himself in a lot of this. Get loads of trailers of Jack Hill films. And yeah, nice little release. sure that's been released in the UK recently as well, or Vinegar Syndrome might have done a release of it. I can't really remember. I need to get more Vinegar Syndrome stuff. Cage looks like a good movie to watch stoned with friends. It certainly is. It's really quite inappropriate, the scenes that I laughed at, but I laughed anyway because I'm a trash human. Next up, we've got a few Blue Underground releases. The first one is, now I definitely need to upgrade to a proper version of Deep Red, but this is just a cheap pickup from Amazon, and I know there's much better ultimate releases of this, but Deep Red, it's a classic. Goblin score, it's amazing. And yeah, if you're into your giallo or gialli, I should use the collective term, then that's a must. Beautiful tracking shots, just a technical marvel. And then we've got 3 of the Midnight Movies triple features that Blue Underground released. First one is the action triple feature, which has The Big Racket and Heroin Busters and Street Law. 3 fantastic films by Enzo G. Castellari. Street Law is my favourite out of these. I did not realise Franco Nero was in Die Hard 2. But yeah, Street Law is awesome. The score from the Angelis brothers is just great. It's just one of those films from start to finish. It's just so engaging and entertaining. Great action scenes. There's a really awesome scene where Franco Nero's being chased by a car, genuinely nearly getting hit. No stuntmen. And I can't remember if it was in The Big Racket or Heroin Busters, but there's a scene where Fabio Testi is sat in a car and it's being rolled down a hill. And it's just like, you don't get actors nowadays who commit that much to the roles. I mean, we're talking about the Italian films. There were some films where live ammunition was used for the shooting scenes. We're talking about films where no permits were used, so there was illegal filming on the streets of like Naples, to the point where, you know, they're doing fully blown car chases that aren't staged. They're just normal people going about the business, and next thing you know, it's 2 stunt drivers like weaving through cars, nearly hitting people. Most of all these movies, in fact, they can be fun to watch with friends. Definitely, that's my sort of film. But yeah, this is fantastic. It's a fantastic trio of films. Awesome stuff. Enzo G. Castellari's a genius. Then we've got the suspense triple feature, which contains The Fifth Chord, Forbidden Photos of a Lady Above Suspicion, and The Pajama Girl Case. Again, 3 sort of giallos. Both The Fifth Chord and Forbidden Photos, you can get really nice releases here in the UK. I'm not sure if The Pajama Girl Case has a UK release, but yeah, so I shall be upgrading at some point. But these are great ways. Who was it who mentioned it earlier? Luke. A great way for me, I experienced getting into Italian cinema, is picking up cheap box sets like this. And yeah, it's ever since, it's just my favourite. Well, you can see predominantly it's Italian films from the 70s and 80s that I own. Franco Nero's Everywhere was Django, one of the first ones. Yeah, it was the first Django. See, I'm not the biggest fan of Django. I loved his cameo in Django Unchained. But yeah, Die Hard 2. Who was he in Die Hard 2? I don't know. And then next up, this is a release that shall be obsolete, because all three of these films are released in the UK with nice Blu-ray releases. But there's the Midnight Movies thriller triple feature starring The Bloodstained Shadow, another Antonio Bido film, Short Night of Glass Dolls by Aldo Lardo, and then Who Saw Her Die, also by Aldo Lardo, starring George Lazenby. Yeah. So yeah, just good ways to experience these Italian classics. Short Night of Glass Dolls ends very strangely. Almost has like a sort of a cult vibe to it. Next up, we've got the digital classics release of The Great Silence, starring Sergio Corbucci film. So, you know, we've got that Django link there. Starring Klaus Kinski and Jean-Louis Trintignant. I don't know how to pronounce that name. I'm so sorry. I saw him in a recent movie, all but still with charisma and those green eyes, definitely. He's a striking looking man, is Franco Nero, and he's aged very well. But this is a classic. This contains one of my all-time favourite scores, and especially one of my favourite pieces of cinematic music by Ennio Morricone. Just that. It's just beautiful, and then set to the backdrop of these really snowy, mountainous areas. Always reminds me of my ex-girlfriend's hometown in Germany, just overlooking this beautiful city, and then the main theme from The Great Silence plays. I'm romantic, but yeah, this is a really good film. Slow pace, it's brooding, it's not an action-packed spaghetti western, and of course infamous for the change of the end final scene, which is included as an extra on this. I think there's two versions of this release, one with a red cover and one with this blue cover, and I'm sure the red cover is quite bare bones, but I'm sure there's a really beautiful deluxe release of this film. But yeah, you even get there's an interview of Alex Cox. There's an optional commentary on the ending, on the alternate ending by Alex Cox. But yeah, it's an absolute classic. You know, you're not going to be gripped to the edge of your seat with it, but just a beautiful film. And then the last film in this collection, and you'll have noticed there are plenty of holes in this collection of must-own DVDs and Blu-rays. But I'm sure those holes will be filled, because I do like to fill holes. I haven't filled a hole for quite a while, though, but I'm talking about plastering walls, you dirty people. I haven't plastered anything else for a while, so anyway. We won't talk about that. We're going to end on the Aerodrome release. This is their sort of like Arrow's budget label. Which again, good way to pick up these classics. And Luke, if you're in the UK, one thing I would recommend is go to like your local CEX and seeing what Arrow releases that they have, because you can get some classic Italian films for like £5 on Blu-ray. It's amazing. But Bird with the Crystal Plumage, the first in the Animal trilogy from Dario Argento. Wonderful film. Ennio Morricone's soundtrack is fantastic once again. You know, set the sort of foundations of what the Giallo would become. And it's one of those important films, but it's actually a really good film as well. It looks like you've sold a lot of iconic ones. Yeah, unfortunately, I did have to sell you know, quite a few. I mean, I had a really nice Gates of Hell box set, Lucio Fulci, which had like House of Cemetery, City of the Living Dead, and well, The Beyond. It was an Aerodrome release, actually. But yeah, I need to get those films back into the collection, and also to diversify it a bit more. But I think my main focus when it comes to DVDs and Blu-rays going forward is I want to build up my Italian film collection. That's what my passion is when it comes to cinema. That and 70s crime. There's just something about crime films from the 70s as well. So that's what I'll be focusing on going forward. But yeah, it's not a bad collection. You know, you'll always have something interesting to watch if you come over. Why anyone would want to do that, I don't know. So yeah, that concludes this rather long-winded look at my DVD and Blu-ray collection. A 3-part special, but I'm still classed as episode 2 of the Labierdomania podcast. Next time, we will be doing my top 10 films of all time, and I'm hoping to include trailers for each of those films, or at least segments of those films to include. So yeah, this is basically aimed at the people in the comments of the playback. So if you're watching this live and you want to take part, just leave a comment once this is uploaded to YouTube. But I want to know your top 10 favourite films of all time. Can be just 10 films that you love. Doesn't have to be in a specific order, but I'd like to hear yours, and I might, show them on the live stream, make notes and stuff. But anyway, thank you so much for joining me tonight. It's been a bit last minute, these videos, but it's the only opportunity I really get to do a live stream like this is on Mondays, because I'm off on Tuesdays. But yeah, so I'm going to leave it for maybe a couple of weeks, get the format down a little bit more, create thumbnail and that sort of thing. I need to get an introduction film that I can play at the start of these streams. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Thank you all for commenting, and thank you to those who may be watching after this has been uploaded to YouTube. So yeah, top 10 films next time. Hopefully you'll join me and you'll have fun. If not, then that's on you. Can't blame me. So I think we're going to play out with a nice grisly trailer. So thank you once again. You all take care. Stay safe. And I shall see you all later.
New York City, a town of sights and erotic delights.
Oh yes, you like it, baby.
A sultry setting for the sinister crimes of a crazed sex killer. A master of murder committing countless sins against unsuspecting victims. Leaving a trail of brutalized bodies, and cops are stumped.
It happened again tonight.
He leaves few clues, but plenty of corpses, sending New York's finest on a cat-and-mouse chase through the seedy haunts of a sexual wasteland.
I am cop.
Bitch.
A terrifying tale of a sadistic thrill killer, the New York Ripper.